At least 10 people are dead in the city of New Orleans and another 35 are injured after a vehicle drove into a large crowd. The incident took place around 3:15 a.m. local time. The city's mayor, LaToya Cantrell, says New Orleans has been affected by a terrorist attack, although the FBI have said otherwise. The exact details are still under investigation. Within the last hour, the city's authorities have given a press conference. New Orleans Chief Police Officer Ann Kirkpatrick described how the events unfolded.
We had this event started at about 3:15. It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now.
She said the perpetrator also opened fire on officers.
He fired on our officers from his vehicle when he crashed his vehicle. 2 of our officers have been shot. They are stable, and we will give you an update on them.
FBI agent Duncan says it is not an act of terrorism.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not.
Well, joining me now is Charlotte McDonald Gibson, US correspondent for The Times and The Sunday Times. Good morning to you where you are, Charlotte.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Charlotte, what do we know so far?
Well, as we heard in those audio clips, we know it was about 3:15 a.m. on Bourbon Street. I mean, this is the heart of the New Orleans French Quarter. It would have been packed with people coming out of bars. It's a lively area. I was there in November. It's always full of people, some worse for wear. It's a real party area. So there would have been no shortage of people on the streets when this man drove his pickup truck. He drove intentionally past the barriers, drove as fast as he could to hit as many people as possible before exiting the vehicle. And as we heard there, shooting 2 police officers who are injured and shooting other bystanders. So this is what we know so far. What we don't know is anything about the attacker. We don't know if he is dead, if police managed to arrest him. We know nothing at this point about who perpetrated this awful act.
That's quite unusual in this situation that we don't know where he is or what happened, isn't it? Because I think ordinarily in these situations, the police would have responded pretty quickly and possibly, use fire back.
Well, yes, I mean, this is what we're going to assume. I mean, this area of New Orleans, there's a lot of police. They've had issues with crime, and because it's as I said, an area with a lot of bars, it's very heavily policed. When I was there, I saw police on horseback on every corner. It's heavily policed. There would have been plenty of officers on duty that this morning. So one would assume that they would have had a chance to fire back on this perpetrator. But again, that's an assumption at this point of time. We're getting some eyewitness reports in, none of which have much detail about the shooter. So I think always in these incidents, it is a little bit chaotic. There are different reports that come in, and understandably, the FBI want to really be very certain about information before they give it out, which I think is why we're seeing that contradiction between the mayor saying this was a terror attack, the FBI saying at the moment they're not treating it as such. I mean, that's because they're a lot more careful in their definitions, their legal definitions of what constitutes a terror attack. But I think it's absolutely clear from all the detail that this was a very intentional act. This was not an accident.
Yes, absolutely. Charlotte, I will just say NBC is now reporting that the suspect is believed to be dead, but we don't have any more details about that yet. We will, of course, bring you updates on that as we hear them. But just to go back to your point there, Charlotte, yes, I mean, he opened fire on officers while driving into a crowd. I mean, he obviously went prepared. So there's absolutely, whether it's a terrorist attack or not, there's absolutely no question about whether it was a very intentional attack, timed and planned very carefully, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think there's reports as well that the attacker was wearing body armor, and now the FBI said they're looking into the explosive devices, improvised explosive devices at the scene. So there's absolutely no doubt that this was a carefully planned attack, and of course it comes at a period of very heightened political tensions in the US after the election. There's been lots of concern around the election about lone wolf, extreme terror attacks. We had 2 attempts on the life of Donald Trump, of course, in the run-up to the election. So it's a time where extremism monitors are very, very concerned that the sort of very febrile atmosphere here in the US is inspiring lone wolf attacks. So we will obviously have to wait and see what the motive is, and I'm sure more detail, as you said, it's coming out every minute. But yes, I think it's going to be a big focus on what was the reason behind this attack at this particular time in US history.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlotte, thank you so much for your time this morning. That's Charlotte McDonald Gibson, who is a US correspondent for The Times and The Sunday Times.
You'll hear more after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here. What I'm asking at this time are prayers for those who have lost their lives in the city of New Orleans due to this tragedy. In addition to that, I'm asking the public to stay clear of 8 blocks around Bourbon Street. Stay clear from Bourbon Street, 8 blocks around. Very active, and again, a unified command is in place right now. I'm going to ask Chief Kirkpatrick to give you an update. You're then going to hear from our agent in charge relative to the FBI. So at this time, Chief Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to give you as much of the information I possibly can. We are going to give you an update a couple of times today. So we will give you just the basics this morning, all right? We had this event started at about 3:15. It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now. With respect to numbers, we have right now, and as you already know, this could change throughout the day. We do know that there are 26 injured people who are at UMC Hospital. We know we have 4 at Truro, 4 at Ochsner Baptist, 1 at Tulane, but even as I was walking out the door, I believe I have an unconfirmed additional people who have been taken to other area hospitals, possibly on the east side. But we will give you as many correct numbers as we can as the day progresses. It is a very tragic situation for me to tell you that we know we have 10 people that this man killed on Bourbon Street. What I also can tell you is that this man, this perpetrator, he fired on our officers from his vehicle when he crashed his vehicle. 2 of our officers have been shot. They are stable.